I'm 40 years old now, but I've been playing card games since before I was a teenager, believe it or not. Starting with Doom Trooper and Magic the Gathering way back in 1995 when I was in middle school. Now, I'm not going to claim that I've been as involved with every single card gaming community of all the ones I've been involved with, but I've been pretty deep in a lot of them. And I do have to say, with a lot of confidence, that the Star Wars Destiny community, without a doubt, is the most creative and resourceful one that I've ever been a part of. And I've been thinking a lot about it this week. Why is that? Is it just the people? What drew those people into it? And the reality is, the answer I came up with is, we're the most creative and the most resourceful because we had to be to survive. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Necessity is the mother of invention. I thought that was appropriate to start with. Now, to be fair, that quote is actually not exactly that quote. It's been misinterpreted many times through the years. It's actually originally from Plato, and that's Plato, the philosopher, not the goo that you have fun with when you're a kid. But we jest, but I thought that was a good entry. So what I wanted to really talk about tonight, because something I think we don't do enough in the Star Wars Destiny community, is really celebrate, A, the fact that we're still here, but really more why we're still here, and a lot of the hard work that a lot of people have put in to get us here. And let's be honest, many of us left have still done. So tonight, obviously, you can see we have a different format. I went full screen because I don't really have much to show. And I figured we'd sit here and I'd have a beer and we'd have a nice little chat, because it is important every now and then to celebrate everyone, right? And what we've done and what we're here. So, the topic of tonight was, the thumbnail, I should say, was the reason that we're so creative is because we had to be. And I think that's really appropriate. Now, we can and should spend a lot of time listing off, the ARH community, and there are other continuing committees out there. There were 3 main ones. I believe there are 2 left. Star Wars Destiny Hungary, which might just be one dude. I'm still not sure about that one. But hey, they're still creating cards and bringing joy to people, so cheers. But ARH obviously is driving the majority of the conversation, at least that I'm involved with. There's a lot of people who do a lot of work and have kept it involved. Destiny Smash is a real thing that actually. So Mike, this is going to be a rambling episode, but strap in, kids. Strap in, kids, right? So Mike actually was in town a couple weeks ago. It was great to see him again. And we met up with some of our older Destiny folks from in the Wayback Machine. And we asked them what they're playing these days. And they said, we mostly just play Smash. And I thought that was really amazing, right? Because I think Smash, the board gamifying of FFG Destiny, I think was really strong. And it really took us collectively back into the Member Berries machine, where we were remembering all the crazy stuff we used to do in terms of tournament formats and all that stuff. And the reality of the situation was we didn't do that because necessarily we wanted to, but we came up with that stuff because we wanted to keep the community entertained. And that was even during the FFG days. And I do have to be realistic here, looking back on it from a 10,000 foot view perspective. I don't know that the community at large would have made it through even the FFG days had it not been for the creativity and the work that the community itself put in to keep the game alive. Now, let's take a sip. I think that there will be some people who are not happy with this statement, but try to understand where I'm going on it. I am not attacking Star Wars Destiny, the game. I love Star Wars Destiny, the game. If anybody's demonstrated that, I think I've demonstrated that. But it's no secret that I think Star Wars Destiny as a product by Fantasy Flight Games was completely and utterly mismanaged, basically from the get-go. And in fact, looking back on it, it blows my mind that it made it as long as it did. And what I mean by that specifically was the delays in products, how long it took between expansions to come out. We're going to release on November 1st. Oh, it released on October the next year. I mean, that wasn't the case, but you get my point, right? And what we collectively as a community had to do in the meantime was figure out ways to keep our local communities engaged. And this is where the fun part of the conversation goes, is going back into the member berry machine. You know, remember when we used to have hero villain and 40-40 came out of it, and all of these crazy formats that we used to play at our weekly meetups, right? We'd meet every Saturday at Gunray. We'd meet every Monday at the bowling alley and play. And everyone across not only the country, but the world was doing the same thing. They were coming up with ways, rules, restrictions, homegrown erratas, right? At one point there was the Dice Commando holocron, and there were many other different holocrons. There was the Dice Commando holocron, the Gandorkacron, the actual holocron, and then whatever the heck the locals were playing with. And to someone outside looking in, I think you would look into that and be like, this is absolute chaos. And I think that's a fair statement, not understanding the situation. But we as locals had to figure out a way to keep folks engaged and playing, because hey, we knew that Way of the Force was going to come. Actually, that's not fair, because Way of the Force actually was one of the better release dates, so that's not fair. But pick expansion of your choice. We knew that it was coming out at some point, but it was on the boat, right? And I'm really impressed. You know, if we think back about the history of Destiny, I can throw some names out there. You know, Steven Lanza and his team, the work that they did to keep folks engaged, coming up with weekly tournaments. I mean, this was in the FFG days, even, right? When there was technically, supposedly, official support. They were coming up with crazy weekly tournaments. The Artificiary crew, they kept they had their monthly league thing going on. And I do believe the Hyperloops back in the day were doing their thing. And how, you know, it's one thing to have, you know, if I look at Flesh and Blood, for example, which I'm very active in now, of course, certainly you have groups out there running tournaments or leagues or whatever it may be, but it's really for a different purpose. They're trying to make money off of it or make content out of it, which, you know, in theory is money on it or engagement or whatever it may be. And the Star Wars Destiny community, I feel, was very different in that age of we were really just trying to keep our folks engaged and offer something fun, because we were tired of losing to droids every week. So we would put in a restriction or whatever it may be, or we'd do a villain hero theme night, or we would do a 40-40 night, or any other format y'all can think of. Put it in and actually please use that time to help with the engagement. Put it below. What formats did you enjoy playing back in the day? The crazy formats. And, you know, to be fair, that's something we don't see as much anymore, or at least in the current age of Destiny, primarily because the majority of the effort is going into, well, it's because we don't have to. It's because we don't have to, because the majority of the effort that's being spent is going into actually keeping the game alive. And that makes sense, right? It makes sense. But back in the day, we had very, very little support from Fantasy Flight Games OP. They would do a kit every now and then, but your stores would still have to buy said kit. And if people weren't going to show up to play, they weren't going to buy said kit. So the tournament organizers and the community at large had to get creative on ways to motivate their people to come out and play, right? In order to keep the game alive at our store, we had to get creative on it. That's impressive, right? It was. And yes, it was a necessity thing. And sure, if we'd had sets coming out every, if it was a Magic thing where we had a set coming out every 3 weeks and it was a pre-release, no, we wouldn't have gotten there, right? But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take time to celebrate the creativity of it. And something I actually meant to do in the intro and we haven't gotten to yet was I really wanted to give a shout out to Sarah Evans and her team. They have yet another great kit, the new game night kit. And yes, Sarah, I will promote this forward because this was a bad spot to promote it in. I get it. But the new game night kits that they're doing, they look phenomenal. I mean, look at the art on this, right? It's phenomenal. It's a great kit. You buy it, you have a game night or a game day with your folks that you have to your store and your locals, and it's awesome. I just, stuff like this and Destiny Smash and ARH on the whole and I don't know. I really think that what we don't do enough is pump the brakes and really recognize where we are and not even where we are, the fact we're still here. And yes, again, the thumbnail was we're creative because we had to be. And I think that's true, but it's also the converse. Well, not really the converse, but it's also we wouldn't have made it here had we not been that way. I think that's the better way to say it. So that's ultimately it. I've been rambling at the camera for 12 minutes or so at this point. I think you all get it, but every now and then I think it's good to kind of sit back and reflect on where we're at and how we're here. And I thought that this was more of a why we're here, because I honestly don't believe that we would be here today if we don't even have to say the Lanzas and the stuff like that, right? Because there are hundreds, if not more, of tournament organizers or community leaders across the globe who are directly responsible during even the FFG era of this game of making this game thrive or survive or whatever terms you want to use. And 95% of those folks will never have their name anywhere, right? And we wouldn't have, I honestly do believe that after thinking about this and, for the last, I don't know, however long, I don't even think we would have made it as far as we did in the FFG era had it not been for that creativity. So it actually makes perfect sense that we're still here and that ARH is still doing what they are doing and that folks are still having tournaments in Toronto and in the UK and that we're meeting at Gen Con. And I think it's pretty phenomenal, and there really no else to say. So what I would like to do, it's cheers you all. And see, I didn't do much damage, but because I wanted to say my piece, and I don't know, I thought it was good to sit down and have that chat. So anyway, that'll be it for me today. Happy Destiny Friday. I probably should have entered with that, but hey, I had that spiffy quote to talk about. So anyway, folks, thank you for being you, for continuing to be here, and for those who are leading their community, looking to lead their community. Folks are meeting in Chicago, the Wookiee crew. You've got stuff going in Chicago. We have stuff going in Boston, right? I'll throw that up. We have stuff going in Boston, US. Multiply that times probably the 5 or 6 other incidents that availability events that I'm not mentioning, but there are a lot of folks putting a lot of effort into making this happen because they want this game to live. It is a good game. It is a good community worth keeping alive. But it's one of those self-feeding things where the reason that it's a good community to keep alive is because of the people who are making it a good community to keep alive. And without taking a minute to sit and pause and actually think about that, I think it's not worth it. So wanted to do that today. If you made it this, 13 and a half minutes so far, thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed this as well. I know it's not a deck tech or a meta list or whatever it may be. But with that said, I would like to thank everyone who contributes, right? The Echo crew, Steven Lanza. I know you're out there somewhere, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while, but you're still out there, buddy. Dean, really want to thank you. Wook, Casey, right, for making stuff happen in your locals. Everyone on the DC team crew for keeping this going. We haven't had tournaments in a while, but hey, we're still here and we still try to have tournaments. And to everyone on the ARH team, right? Bassmaster, shout out to you. I could just go down the list forever, right? But I wouldn't be doing everybody justice because I didn't write down names. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you all. Go Commando.